Hey everybody, what's up? So my name's Jess, and today we're gonna make a song using Sonic Pi, which is really exciting. I actually don't live in DC anymore. I live in New York, and I teach at NYU. I'm a professor. I teach Python, which is actually kind of funny that tonight I'm not going to be talking about Python. I'm going to be talking about Ruby. And if you know me well, you know I have a Python tattooed on my arm. So some of my friends have been joking about that I should get like a Ruby, but like as a speaker. But I'm probably not going to do that. But yeah, so if you want to follow along, all the code I'm going to be using is found on my GitHub. Also, these slides are found at jessicagarson.com/generate music using Sonic Pi right here, so you can make code later. I always hate those talks where you're like, oh, whoa, that was so awesome. Like, I want to try to do that later, and then like you can't. So yeah. So tonight I'm going to be talking with you guys about kind of like a weird side project that I have right now. So the question is, who is Jessica Garson? My name is Jessica Garson. And when I was a kid, when I was in 3rd grade, we learned about arson one day. And immediately the children were like, arson, Garson. And one brilliant woman was like, Jessica Garson, because I was like always a messy child, which I still am to this day, but you know, even more so back then. And I was like, man, I want to use that for something. And so kind of try to use it for a couple of things. James and I used to like be in a punk band together back in the day, but like, and I was like, maybe like someday I'd do like a solo project and be called Jessica Garson. I didn't think that I would be writing code and like screaming and like sampling myself screaming, which is like what I'm doing these days. And like, we're gonna do that together. We're actually gonna write a song together. And we're going to be using Sonic Pi, which is an IDE, which is an integrated development environment. And that allows us to interact with our computer, kind of similar to how Perry was talking about. But instead of like interacting with it like we normally do, we're going to be like writing code that like turns it into a synthesizer. So it has like really awesome like synthesizers built in. You could use like tons of different synthesizers. And then you can also bring in samples, which I do with myself screaming, and you can also do other types of samples too. We're actually going to record a sample together, which should be really cool. So if you want to download it, you can download it at sonicpi.net. And my favorite thing about this is, and let's make it just a little bit bigger, is that the documentation is actually right below here. So you can actually see right here, there's documentation. There's also sample code. So I got started doing this. I used to run this meetup group called Hack and Tell. I'm actually technically still an organizer, which is like really funny because I'm also an organizer of this, but I don't even live in the city. So I'm organizing 2 events that are happening on the same night right now. But I like don't even live in DC anymore. So like, thanks for loving me so much, guys. It's really great. And like coming to my events and stuff, even when I like don't even live here anymore. But yeah. I used to run this meetup called Hack and Tell, and like I would always have to like make things because we never had enough presenters, and like it was like 5-minute talks, and you always needed to find someone to present. And I really wanted to learn Ruby, but I didn't know how to start. And so I Googled music and Ruby because I'm like, maybe I'll like find something that I can do. And I found Sonic Pi, and immediately I was like, okay, this is not going to work. Like I'm not going to be able to create something in a day. But I did because of like the live coding. If you look over there where it says examples, you can just like take examples and change them until they're no longer anything like the examples. They're just like your own thing. And so I highly encourage you guys to play around with those examples. Something that I actually use a lot within my like performances. So I actually give performances, like I write code in front of like a stage and then like scream, and like people pay money to see me do this. There's actually, because I live in New York City and there's like a niche for everything. There's a group called Live Code NYC that just does like live code performances, which is like super rad. And actually, I think this came up because I was like, someone should start this in like DC. And they were like, oh, we kind of want to do our own thing. It's like kind of similar, but like not quite. And I was like, yeah, do it. So yeah. So that's what's really awesome. Also, one other thing that's important to note is like over here, it's where we're going to be writing the code. We can like record ourselves inside of Sonic Pi. There's also, you can run our code, we can stop our code, and it's Command R and Command S to stop. And you can also make things bigger. You can make the like I like it black and pink, which is like, that's actually like my own aesthetic. Like my terminal is black and pink, but like you can make it black and white, white and pink if you want. You can also like change some things with the scope. You can preference it. You can also download the latest versions and all that fun stuff over on that panel. So yeah. So now let's kind of talk about the basic syntax of a loop. So who can tell me what a loop is? Anybody use loops before in programming? Oh yeah, this is going to be very interactive, by the way. So anybody know what a loop is?
An iteration.
Yeah. And what are you iterating? Yeah. It allows you to go over and over and over again. So like if you think about it, dance music or like electronic music is just like repetitive loops, right? It's things that go over and over and over again. So you can write these loops, and there's many different types of loops in Sonic Pi. We're actually only today going to talk about live loops. And live loops, they allow you to kind of just make changes on the fly, so you can change them as you go. So you can keep like making changes. You could change the synthesizer, you could change the synth, you could change the sample, you could change the timing, which is the sleep, and you can also change the name of it if you want. So I like write messages to my audience using loop names as I'm going, which is like kind of fun sometimes. So that's kind of the basic syntax of a loop. And you're probably like, Jess, you've been talking for like, I don't know, I think I've been talking for like 10 minutes so far. You're like, please just stop talking. Like we're here to like hear some music being played. So like, let's do it. So we're gonna write some code. And here, so we named the loop. And now we're going to name our synth. And you can see it auto-populates for us, which is like super awesome. It makes things really easy to do. And then from here, we can do the sleep, which, as I said earlier, adjusts the timing. And now we have our first loop. And yeah. So now we hear this being played, this pretty bell. Super exciting. And from here, we can press Command S to stop. And now we can write in a second loop. So we could do live loop. Let's call this second loop. I'm real creative with these. These messages to you guys are awesome. And so from here, we're actually going to use a sample. So there's lots of different samples that are preloaded. One of my favorite ones is what's known as Loop Safari. It kind of sounds just as it says, Loop Safari. It's like it's like this like weird percussive, like almost African type sample. And also one thing that's important to note about the sleep actually is that the lower numbers, that's faster, the higher numbers are slower. So from here, let's just run that. So now we can hear our sound changing, right? Isn't this rad? And actually, we can comment this out to kind of just hear what this sounds like. Let's stop it and let's run it. Yeah, that's what the, and let's say I want to make this faster. I could do, also I'm going to put this song up on Bandcamp tonight, which is that we're creating together. And that sounds kind of weird, so let's go back to the 7.5. I like that better. And let's stop this, and let's run that. So now we can kind of see it in isolation. And so we were running things over and over and over again, which is fun. Yeah, so also, you might be like, cool, what if I wanted to like put something on the same line? Like what if I wanted something to have the same timing? Let's actually put in some bass here. So let's do some sample bass. Bass. I like the bass drop C. I've like played with all of these, so it kind of sounds like a much fuller sound here, which is super fun. So now, let's say we wanted to add some drums into this, right? So from here, let's actually write some code. Let's do drums. And how many people have heard of conditional statements or if-else statements? So what are they?
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out to the conditional statements. Who can tell me what they are? Who can tell me what they are?
Branch and execution.
Yeah. And so it basically lets us kind of see if the conditionals are met. So if 1 and 5, then we get to see if it will play the sample. So let's do drum cymbal. We have so many choices here. Let's do drum cymbal hard. Yeah, let's do that one. All right, and then from here, what do we want the timing of this to be? Let's make it 0.5. That seems like that would work. And now we can run there, but we can also, from here, actually, if we don't want to end this right away, we can actually change this to an else, and we can add another condition. So if it doesn't meet this 1 and 5, then let's actually do ambi-choir, and let's do sleep let's do 0.06. And now to end this again, we're going to need to do this thing. So now we have this like cool sound, right? Like we're building to something. So from here, what we can also do is we can actually add in effects such as distortion. So if you've ever heard like a fuzzed out sound on like a grunge record, that's probably coming from distortion. So let's just distort all the things. Let's call it that. And then from here, let's say with FX, let's call it distortion, obviously, because we're going to distort all the things. There's this like really weird synth called Zawa, so we're going to use that. And like most of my errors as a programmer come from like me spelling things wrong. So it's really great that it like auto-populates for me, which makes things a lot easier sometimes. So from here, we can actually put the sleep in. So again, something that's really fun to note, so you guys don't make the same mistakes I did. I was like, what if I can run this without sleep? You can't. Since sleep adjusts the timing of things, if there's no timing, it just won't run and it will break and you'll get an error. Which is actually, but it still plays music while you get an error, which is actually kind of fun. But, you know, so it's not like the end of the world. But from here, so now we have the Zawa sound. Yeah. So now, do I have like a brave volunteer, like a super brave volunteer? Like one that wants to come up and like record a sample with me? Anybody want to come up and record a sample? Because then you're going to have to hear me screaming if you don't. So like, anybody want to come up and we'll like, you get to talk into my microphone? Got it. All right, we have somebody. So I feel like I'm like a game show host. So Perry talked a little bit about Audacity, right? His old friend. Audacity's my friend. So Perry, or actually, what's your name?
Shay.
Shay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, so Shay, you ready to record some things?
Absolutely.
So yeah, USB audio device, we're in the right place. You're gonna take this, and I'm gonna press record, and you can say, oh no, there's an error.
Oh no.
Yeah, hold on, we're gonna unplug this.
Yeah,
This was working with like my USB mic earlier, but not with.
Go USB-C.
Yeah. You know, it's okay because I have plenty of recordings of my own self screaming.
That's fine. I like that too.
All right, I think we might have figured it out.
Okay.
So I think we can get you to record, but we also have to work on getting the screen to come back on.
Take one and leave the other.
Yeah, let's like not save this project. So let's do Audacity, you know, live coding, live demos. Yeah, I guess thank you so much for coming up.
No, I totally understand. USB-C, success.
Yeah, it happens to the best of us. You guys are just going to hear me scream, which is probably less time consuming. Sorry, Mom and Dad. My parents are actually here, so, you know, they're going to hear me scream, but like recorded. Yeah, so I'm actually going to put a loop in here. So live loop. Let's call this Sorry, Mom and Dad. Yeah. Cool. Amazing. Oh, wow. I stopped projecting, but we can Yo. Okay, cool. That's exciting. All right. Although yeah, it's a res issue. Yeah.
That's good.
It's cool. We're back. All right. Technical difficulties, the best part of. So now let's actually go in. So here is a song. I went into my friend's studio the other day and recorded myself screaming into a USB mic for like a few hours. Here's one thing I recorded called No. So we're just gonna copy the full path. I also really like looking at like my like audio inside of a like text editor. If you haven't seen that before, that's what that looks like. So here we're gonna do sample. And then from here, let's just do sleep. Let's do 0.5 here. Actually, let's do 0.32. Well, my parents are here. Let's do 9. Or let's actually, yeah, let's make this like, let's do 0.9. That seems like all right. All right, so now, yeah. So, sorry, Mom. Let's do 5 here. So, yeah, cool. And now let's do, so, and let's do, so now it's just gone down to the squeaky noise. So yeah, that's a little bit about what I do. And so you might be wondering, what was that rate thing that I just did? So rate means it's the rate to play back. So basically, I was like, yo, let's just adjust the rate to 0.05. So it's half of normal. And then what about that beat stretch thing that like made it just like ridiculously, so it turned into this like weird screech? That basically shrank down the sample to match the number of beats. So I made it I don't even remember, some point thing, yeah, 0.024. So it just made this like weird little screech, which is kind of fun. And we talked about how to add distortion in. And the last thing that I'm going to show you guys is how to add in attack and decay. How many people know what attack is?
The guitar pedal, but
Yeah, what is it on a guitar pedal? It's the same thing.
it's how fast the sound comes in.
Yeah, so it's how fast the sound comes in. And decay, what can we guess is decay? Yeah, how long, yeah, so let's change the attack here. Let's do, so we'll stop that and let's make the pretty bell. Let's change the decay of the pretty bell. I love the name of that. So we wrote a song together, guys. How awesome is that? I guess if folks, if we have time and folks want to come up and write like a couple more loops, we can do that, or we can just end. How are we doing on time?
Seems like pretty all right.
Yeah, all right. So does somebody want to come up here and like write a loop here, maybe? You guys have seen me. You can even change the loops that I wrote.
Shay.
I can't write.
All right. Well, any volunteers that want to come up and write? Cool. Well, with that, let's just hear what we did. So that's what we made together. I'm going to put this up on my GitHub. If you want to see my practice song, it's over if you go to Sonic Pi Songs. Here's the practice song here, which is awesome. And then also one other thing, if y'all want to like, if you thought that like what I did today was cool, or like you're like inspired yourself to start doing stuff, let me know. I'm on the internet. Send me email, tweet at me. Keep in touch. I want to hear what you build. Also, like, you don't have to make these like weird noise music things. Like, that's what I like, and I scream and do this like weird stuff. Like, that's me. But like, you can be as creative. Like, you can make songs with it. I've seen folks make like almost classical music with it. Cornelius over in the back, he was like making John Legend songs with it, which was like so rad. So there's a lot that you can do, and like, if you do things, please tell me about it. I want to be your friend, and I want to keep in touch. So yeah, thanks everybody, and thanks for listening to me talk.